For more on the latest vaccine rules going into effect, let's bring in Dr. Kate Tulenko. She's the CEO of Corvus Health, global health firm. Thank you for joining us again.
A pleasure.
So first, I want to start with this booster debate. We know that England and Israel are among the countries saying yes. The U.S. is considering it. What should the public know about this debate over boosters?
Well, I think the preponderance of the evidence shows that the booster is beneficial. To me, the main question is an ethical question and also a question of sort of long-term goals. That, is it ethical to give healthy adults in the U.S. a booster when vulnerable people in low and middle income countries haven't had any vaccine? And also, it might be better for the U.S. in the long run to help vaccinate other countries so we don't have more variants like Delta and Mu. So it's going to me, be based on the criteria that the FDA panel makes its decision on. If it's purely the health of the patient, they will vote for the booster. If they look more broadly at public health issues, I think they will say boosters only for high-risk individuals. The rest of the vaccine should be given to low and middle income countries.
So for those countries that are considering this, is there any consistency as to which vaccine is best as a booster, what dosage, depending on your age and health conditions?
There are lots of different studies on that, and the evidence on that is mixed, so it's hard to recommend one specific booster over the other. Although, as your reporter reported, the UK is recommending specific boosters. I think in the US they won't recommend one specific one over the other.
And I mean, we're seeing a lot more countries and companies now mandating vaccinations. Will that third jab be needed in the future to be considered fully vaccinated?
I doubt that, especially with the ethical issues. And, as your reporter brought up, will this affect the shape of the U.S. Outbreak? I don't think it will, because the outbreak in the U.S. really is shaped by the unvaccinated people. The people who are vaccinated are much less likely to get COVID, much less likely to get severe COVID. So even if they get a booster, we're still going to see the outbreaks among the unvaccinated and still see situations such as in Idaho, where they're doing, emergency level care, where people aren't getting the proper care that they need.
And as we've seen as a common theme throughout this pandemic, a lot of divisiveness on this pandemic and how to treat people. But we did see that Biden met with company CEOs yesterday about vaccine requirements. How is the business sector seeing this recent vaccination push and some of these proposed requirements?
I think in general, business owners are supportive because they want to get back to business. They want the pandemic to go away, and more people being vaccinated is going to drive the pandemic away faster. So in general, I would say business people support it. Those that don't are those who tend not to support it for political reasons.
And now to our younger groups, of course, when it comes to children and COVID, we did see 500,000 new pediatric cases in the U.S. alone in the week from September 2nd to the 9th. Talk about the risks both to children's health and to the greater economy if schools need to shut down due to outbreaks.
Right. So we're seeing increased pediatric cases for two reasons. One is the return to in-person school that happened in September. The other is that Delta seems to be, much more infectious, especially in children. And, as schools have to shut down due to, a preponderance of cases or teachers being out, of course, their parents will have to stay home as well. So you might see some businesses shut down. But I think in the long run, the schools aren't going to affect the economy that much. It's instead, I think the big unreported issue is the cost of all this care that we're giving, just the billions of dollars that will be, as well as the long-term cost of long COVID and people who will have permanent disabilities based on their COVID.
And we certainly know those costs can soar. And even amid all this, we're still seeing, obviously, a lot of vaccine hesitancy for some U.S. adults. So then when it comes to children, should regulators be forcing through these vaccinations for the under 12, or is there a different way to approach this?
Well, the FDA, thank goodness, is following its procedures on looking at the evidence for children. And it looks like by Thanksgiving, they will have enough evidence to examine for the Pfizer vaccine whether or not 5 to 11-year-olds should be vaccinated. And my guess is that they will approve it.
So then as we look in China now, the Chinese CDC recently said that under 12s vaccination should happen soon. Do we have an idea of just how quickly that might happen?
Certainly, China has a very effective, vaccination system set up. So as soon as it gets approval, I think they'll be able to roll it out, most likely through the schools. So, I mean, they've already, as you said, vaccinated 1 billion people. I think they can vaccinate the children very quickly.
And as we know, the hotspots have been changing, but they have been the same top 3 for a while now. Are there any hotspots or variants that we should really keep on our radar, or is Delta still the most dominant concern?
Well, Mu is a concern because it looks like the Mu variant might not be resistant to the vaccine, that people still can get sick. But since Delta is so much more infectious, Delta is still more of a problem in the U.S., but we do need to keep an eye on Mu.
And just very quickly, any advice for people who are seeing all this information and misinformation out there as to how they should approach this decision?
Talk to your own physician, get your information from reputable sources, and go with people that you trust.